if they don't know about Bitcoin, it tells enough to give them the tools to go study more to make a good decision for themselves.
I'm thrilled today to be speaking with Brian and Kelly Estes, the voices, the directors, the power, if you will, behind God Bless Bitcoin, which is available to stream on July 25th. Thank you, Brian, Kelly. Thank you so much for your time. I really do appreciate it.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks for interviewing us.
Let's talk about the film. God Bless Bitcoin is a fascinating documentary. Definitely, and Bitcoin itself is something I want to talk to you both about. But how did the film come to be?
I'm gonna let you take that because
Okay.
you brought it to
All right,
me.
yeah. So about 4 years ago, I read a book called Thank God for Bitcoin, and it's about the Christian view of Bitcoin. And I just thought it was interesting, and I wanted to explore like what do the other faiths say about money and Bitcoin and finance. So I started digging into what the Jewish religion says about it, and Muslim, Islam, Buddhist, Hindu, and that's kind of where it started. And then that was, like I said, 4 years ago. And then, for about 2 years, I had this inner voice like talking to me, like I need to tell the story, like, take what I learned and tell people. And I'm not a good storyteller. I've never written a book or done a movie. And the voice just kept getting louder and louder and louder. And finally, I went to Kelly, who has her master's degree in education. And I said, hey, I need to shut this voice up. Can you help me like make a movie? Like I want to like show people what I've learned and tell the story. And so I sucked her into this project, and she said yes. And so yeah, the last 2 years we spent, telling the story that was inside me. And it was, we're first time filmmakers. For me, it was very hard to get that story out. But if you watch the movie, this is the story that was inside me, and it quieted that voice, and now I have a little bit of peace in my life.
And so when he brought it to me and when he told me I've got this voice and I've got this laying on my heart, I always believe that if if you keep hearing something over and over, it's God leading you to do something. So when he came to me and said, I want to make a film about this, I said, are you sure? And then the voice kept on, kept on. I'm like, well, it's better to obey sooner than it is later. So let's just get at it. And for me, it was important to make this film because for the last 15 years of my life in education, I've been working with students who have grown up in generational poverty, and our current fiat system is hurting them the most because we keep printing money and diluting the purchasing power of our dollars. People can't keep up. It doesn't matter how many jobs they work, they can't keep up. And they often wonder, what's wrong with me? I'm doing everything I can. I'm trying my best. There must be something wrong. No, it's not. There's nothing wrong with you. It's that our system isn't working for you. And so it was important to me to make this film to show people what really is going on with our financial system, and to show them that there is an option out there that allows for us to have a store of value that preserves all of that work and all of that talent that we exchange with each other through our work, in a way that allows you to build a life for yourself, hopefully have a life of abundance as God intends for us, so that you can share some of that with others. So I think God told him the story, and I helped pull it out of him.
Well, and I mean, we were chatting briefly before we started talking here, and one of the things you said is that the Bitcoin community got behind you in this endeavor quickly, and I would love to talk to you, or love to know how that came about and what that looked like, because that's very interesting as well, is the fact that people who are in the know and already involved in this are saying this story needs to be told.
Yeah, I think it's very much an ethos within the Bitcoin community that Bitcoin is a more moral and ethical form of money. And it was probably the first time that I know of that somebody wanted to put that out there in a film. And so they gave freely of their time and their talent to be interviewed. We had conducted over 60 interviews from leading experts in Bitcoin, in politics and finance, and then, of course, across the world's religions, to look at Bitcoin through a moral lens. And that community rallied behind us, and they have been so very, very supportive of our efforts that it's definitely a film by the Bitcoin community.
Yeah, we wanted to look at the moral and ethical reasons, but to do that, you have to dig down to the base layer, which is the ancient scriptures, the religious scriptures,
Bible.
the Bible, the Torah, the Quran, and see what they say. And so that's what we wanted to get down to. And we wanted to get down to the basics. Thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not kill. In Ezekiel, it talks about stop the expropriations of my people to conduct violence and destruction. And that's what we're doing today. We're taking money from the people and having these unjust wars that never end. And so we wanted to drill down to what the ancient scriptures said, and the sacred scriptures, and what does God want us to do with our money, and relate that to this new technology called Bitcoin.
And this is fascinating too, because this film, like you say, it drills down to the basics. I mean, this is not just, oh well, the Bible says this. You're looking at it from the Quran, you're looking at it from the Torah, and these other faiths and their views on money, which begs the question. I mean, I don't remember being taught about Bitcoin in Sunday school. So is Bitcoin in your mind? Do you think that it really is a spiritual issue, the way we implement and use Bitcoin?
I would be really careful to say that I think Bitcoin is from God, or that God created Bitcoin, or that God wants everybody to use Bitcoin, right? I think I have too much reverence for God to try to understand what his feelings are about what we do. What I do know about God from reading the Bible and growing up Catholic and going to Catholic school is that he created this world and he gave it to us as a gift to enjoy. He wants us to enjoy the beauty of his creation, and he wants us to make sure that everybody has their fair share of that beauty. And if there is anything that is stopping us from doing that, we have to try to fix that, right? And right now, we believe that our current system is not allowing all of God's people to have abundance. But that is what God wants for us. He wants us to work hard, right? To serve him well. And one of the ways we have to do that is the way our money works with each other. Our money has to serve us well. Really, money is just an exchange of each other's gifts, right? It's almost like a token of appreciation. I think one of the rabbis, in fact, it was Rabbi Lappin, who interviewed for our film, said, really, you should look at money as, this is my token of appreciation for what you've done, and we're going to exchange tokens of appreciation. That's how an economy works. I do believe that's how God expects our economy to work. So we would never say God believes we should use Bitcoin, but we do think Bitcoin fits how God wants us to interchange with each other better than fiat does.
Well, and what is it about Bitcoin in your mind that makes it more of like you're talking about it as an ethical thing, like this in this film, it's referred to as the people's money, and many is coming up in this film. What is it about Bitcoin in your mind that makes it truly of the people?
So we have to go back to how money really started. So this is a little history lesson. So 10,000 years ago, we as humans, we would use scarce commodities that were in our local community as money. So for the Indians, it was like wampum. For other communities, it was like seashells or rare stones. And then gold was discovered like 3,500 years ago. And humans, we just opted into gold and silver as money because it was the best form of money that could be created, because it was hard to produce. It took proof of work to dig it out and produce gold, right? There was an effort there to produce gold. And there was a limited supply of gold. So there was this scarcity factor. So money has certain characteristics: limited supply, scarce, durable, portable, and gold and silver fit, as the best form of money until 1971. What happened in 1971 was President Nixon took the US off the gold standard, and all the other countries followed that. So that's what fiat money is. Fiat means by decree. Like when you hold a dollar bill up, it's only a piece of paper. Like, the reason you think it has value is because the government says it has value. It's by decree, fiat. And so for the past 53 years, we've been running an experiment. So for 3,500 years, we use gold and silver as our money. And for the last 53 years, we're using fiat money, or this experiment. That experiment is failing because the governments don't have the discipline to limit the money supply. They keep printing more and more dollars. So basically what that is theft. And let me explain why. So today you're spending your time and your energy and your talent to interview us. And then you end up getting a paycheck for doing that, right? And then those dollars that you earn, you pay your bills and, buy your, necessities. When whatever's left over, if you want to save that for the future, if you just hold it in those dollars and the government prints more dollars, then that time and effort and talent that you made to issue, make those dollars, that gets diluted. Your dollars get diluted over time. And what that means is that it takes more dollars to buy the same thing in the future. So that's why it takes more dollars to buy a gallon of gas. That's why it takes more dollars to buy the same square footage of a home. And so the money gets diluted. And so what the governments are doing when they print more dollars, they're stealing. They're stealing your time and your energy and your talent from you, because your money, your purchasing power gets diluted. And Father Sirico says, that's like diluting the wine with water. It's a sin to do that. It's like having unjust equal or unjust equal weights and measures, and so it's like having your thumb on the scale. It's an abomination to the Lord to do that. And so our fiat system is like that. It's not compliant with the Old Testament. It's not compliant with the Torah. It's not compliant with the Quran. And that's what we show in the movie. It's a system that is not compliant with God's will. And Bitcoin, because it can't be diluted, there's a finite supply of Bitcoin, only 21 million. It's a more moral, ethical, and form of money. And in our opinion, it's more compliant with God's wishes.
And okay, you have to.
I know that was a lot, so sorry.
No, but please forgive me, because I'm a Luddite. I always joke with my team that I'm a Luddite when it comes to this stuff. And we talk about Bitcoin, and I hear you say there will only ever be 21 million Bitcoins available. But I don't understand Bitcoin. I'll be perfectly honest.
Okay,
He's really good at this. He's really good at this.
Digitally create it.
So let me explain how all this started. So 30 years ago, when we started the internet is supposed to be a peer-to-peer system. So when we send each other email, like data to each other, you can send it to me, I can send it to you. There's no one in between us. It's peer-to-peer, right? And I could copy and paste that data and send it to Kelly. And that's not a problem because it's just data. But with money, if I try to send you money peer-to-peer, and I can copy and paste that money and send that same dollar to Kelly, I've double spent that dollar. I've sent it to you and I sent it to Kelly. So that doesn't work with money. And so that's what Bitcoin is. Bitcoin is the software that fixed that problem. When we built the internet 30 years ago, no one could figure out how to do that. No one could figure out how to do peer-to-peer transfer of value through the internet. And Elon Musk started a company called PayPal in 1998. PayPal's original mission was to create Bitcoin. It was to create this software so we could do peer-to-peer transactions over the internet without a bank, without a credit card, just us together. And he couldn't figure it out either. And so what Bitcoin is, someone 15 years ago, and we don't know who it is, someone 15 years ago figured out the solution, put it on the internet for free, and said, here you go. He just gave it to us. He could have patented it, and he didn't patent it. He could have started a company with it. He didn't do that, or she didn't do that. He just gave it to the world for free as a gift. And it was something that it was a computer science problem that was around for 30 years that no one could figure out. And that person figured it out and gave it to us for free. And what that's called is Bitcoin. It was the first blockchain. And this blockchain technology is what is going to change the world.
I mean, it absolutely has. And I mean,
And to go back to your 21 million, sorry, the source code in there, it's open source internet protocol software, just like email, just like domain names, just like voice over internet protocol. Anyone could see the code. You could go into GitHub and you can see the code. Inside the code, it says maximum supply 21 million. Like, so you could see it. It's 21. It's not 42 million. It's not 63 million. It's 21 million. And so you see that in the code, and no one could, you could change the code and have a different version of Bitcoin, but no one will use it. So the core Bitcoin code says 21 million, and that's what 400 million people around the world are using today, is that core Bitcoin code to transfer value.
So in what way then? I know one of the things that comes up in this film, it talks about it superseding social barriers. Like there's even conversations here about it, actually helping people rise up out of poverty, I think is the quote from the film, is a potential for that. How in your mind do you think Bitcoin does that? I mean, certainly we know how the old system doesn't work, and that gap is widening. But why is Bitcoin different?
Yes, please.
All right. So there's 2 billion people in the world who don't have bank accounts. So for example, let's say there's a woman in Africa who has a talent of making baskets, right? She could only sell those baskets to people in her local community because she doesn't have a bank account, right?
Right.
But if she has a way to do financial transactions and a way to join the international commerce, she could make a basket and sell it to me here in Florida. And I could go online, buy her basket, she'll ship it to me, and I could pay her. But if she doesn't have a bank account, how do I pay her? Well, blockchain technology like Bitcoin allows me to send Bitcoin from my phone to her phone, and she can get paid. And now her phone is her bank. So now she went from unbanked to having a bank account, which is Bitcoin on her phone. And now she could make products. She has the talent that God gave her to make, a basket. And then I have money that I've earned that I'm willing to pay for that basket. And I'm probably willing to pay more than someone in Africa would pay for the basket. So now she's making more money. And now she could support her children and support her family and have a more productive life, because she could have a way to get to commerce and do commerce internationally, wherein she didn't have that before, because she could only sell her basket to the people within like a 50-mile radius.
That's wild to me. That's wild to me. Okay. I'm constantly reframing, because this is such a vastly different way to think about the way we do commerce and finance, it just quite indifferently.
Well, here in the US, we just don't recognize it. We have a functioning financial system in the US. Like if we need to do a transaction, we could do Venmo, PayPal, Visa, Master. We have all sorts of options. But the rest of the world, like I said, there are 2 billion people in the world that they don't belong to the financial system. They've been shut out. And so we talk about that in the movie. They're frozen out. And we need to bring those 2 billion people into the system so they could use their God-given talents to produce value, not only from themselves, but for others.
Yeah, absolutely. Honestly, it is absolutely fascinating to me to see the potential of something like this and how it can change the system, if you will. Just, I know we're starting to run out of time, but I'd love to hear from you both. What do you hope people take away from God Bless Bitcoin? What do you hope they do after they've seen it?
Well, I hope that it is just the start of their education about our financial system and what would maybe be right for them. If they don't know about Bitcoin, it tells enough to give them the tools to go study more to make a good decision for themselves. It also, I hope, gives them hope that there is a way for them to create a store of value for themselves so that they can live an abundant life. We have dubbed the film in 7 languages and subtitled it in over 15 languages so that it is universal, that people can watch it in their own language, that they can understand what's going on with money and how they interact with it and how they use it. And hopefully it is the springboard for further studying, right? I'm a teacher, so I believe knowledge is power. And I'm hoping that's what this film does, that it gives people hope and empowers them to start making decisions about their lives and the way that they use money that can, preserve wealth for future generations.
Yeah. And only 1% of the world today understands Bitcoin. And so that was one of our goals. I don't know if we can get them to 2%, but the more people that understand the power of this technology and how it could benefit the world and in all of humankind, the better it is. So, our ask is, watch spend the 90 minutes, watch the movie, and then if you're curious, dive in further and spend another 10, 20, or 30 hours understanding this.
I appreciate it, and I certainly have a lot to understand myself. I need to. So many people are talking to me about Bitcoin, and this doc really helped bridge that conversation. Thank you, honestly, both. I appreciate your time, and I wish you the best.
We
Well,
wish you the
thank
best.
you.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much for
Yeah,
taking the time to help us today.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Thanks, you too.
Bye.